Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming to this session called How to Be a Great Speaker. It's a very big title in front of possibly the UK's biggest presenter at the front there. So I hope it kind of lives up to expectations. But my name is Gareth, and I'm one half of a presenter coaching business called the Presenter Studio. And we've worked in television for over 30 years. There's two of us as TV producers. We've produced so many TV shows over the years. We've won a couple of BAFTAs. We've done everything from Strictly Come Dancing, Gogglebox, Blue Peter, later with Jules Holland, Glastonbury, a whole host of great TV shows. And also, as a producer, that kind of means basically that we've worked with a whole host of TV presenters. Claudia Winkleman, Tess Daly, Rylan, AJ, Zoe Ball, Sarah Cox. My business partner, Leon, has worked with Dermot years ago on a BBC show. We were catching up about that a second ago. And what's really interesting for me is, in my background in television, you'll always have someone like me. You'll have a producer who writes the presenter script, produces you, rehearses with you, and then is there on the day of the record to kind of hold your hand and make sure that you could hopefully be the best that you could possibly be. But often in the corporate world, you guys, I think, we'll find out in a minute, write your own presentations, write your own scripts, rehearse at home, sometimes in front of the kids, your partner, the mirror. And sometimes then the first time you'll ever do a presentation can be in the room itself. So 11 years ago, we decided to set up the Presenter Studio alongside our TV work and just try and rip up the rule book when it comes to presentation skills and corporate kind of media training, and just to try and get you guys think differently about presentations. For us, it's a really exciting, believe it or not, space to be in. And it's often, we kind of think, a creative opportunity to bring some information to life. So the Presenter Studio was born 11 years ago, and that is our mission, to basically try and get you guys to think differently about all the stuff that you'll be doing in the future. And we work with some amazing brands, Porsche, Nike, ASOS, Lush, Prudential. Just been doing some stuff with Rihanna's beauty brand this week, Fenty Beauty. Just trying to get them to kind of get off that blank page, that corporate page, and do some really exciting presentations. So today, I'm going to talk for about 15 minutes. I'm going to give you my top 10 tips and tricks that hopefully you guys can go off and action when it comes to presentations. Then we're going to get some guys who you probably will recognise, sat on the front row over there, in the audience, to come up and also share their tips and tricks. And they may kind of disagree with what I've got to say too. That is the aim of the game. We already have done a quick show of hands, but I do want to just read the room. Who in this space has had to, at some point, do any sort of presentation at work? So it pretty much is everybody in the room. Hands still up, please, because this is the interesting bit. Who would say that they kind of enjoyed the presentation? Who would kind of say, perhaps, that they loved it or it was a positive experience? Well, a few of you. That's quite interesting. Go there. No. Who was it that put your hand down? Let's hear from one of you two ladies on the phone. What was it that you didn't particularly like?
I actually have my hands up. But
Oh, you had your hands up, but you kept your hands up that you enjoyed it?
Well, yeah, kind of.
Okay. What did you enjoy?
I guess it's kind of, maybe a bit, the fear of it is quite a bit of an adrenaline rush, that when you do it and you've done it, that experience is quite good.
Nice.
Weird.
No, that's good. That's good. Anyone who put their hand down, who said they weren't too keen? Lady here, what was it that you're not so keen on?
Just completely blanking, forgetting everything I was supposed to say.
Completely blanking. Yeah, so basically, there is a stat out there. I found it on the internet. I think it's true. It's about 80% of us don't like giving presentations. Yet, I suppose here we are in a room full of people that actually have to give them at work. So, my top 10 tips, guys, go something like this. Number 1, ditch the professional. And for me, it's a really important tip in that I think when we go into kind of presenting mode, I think sometimes we want to all come across as kind of a bit intelligent, a bit professional, a bit clever. And we start writing overcomplicated scripts, corporate scripts, overcomplicated slides. I had the joy of sitting into some of the sessions today. Some amazing slides packed full of so much text. And as an audience member, you just think, gosh, this is quite hard to understand. So my advice is kind of ditch the professional. I think we all take that as a given. We all know you guys are super smart, you're super clever, your colleagues know that you're great at your job. And really, it goes back to basics for me, in that I think great communications is all about people buying people. It's actually about you being relatable, warm, authentic, friendly, having a conversation with an audience, as Sam did right at the beginning, rather than necessarily always thinking about the professional. So that's number one, ditching the professional. And therefore, for me, it comes to this. It's now repositioning your thinking and thinking about yourself much more as a unique personality. And if you want to write down anything as part of this session or take one thing away from this session, I would just write down, I am not a presenter, I am a personality. And it's all your hobbies, your interests, your personality traits, who you are, that kind of is going to make you relatable. And I think if we look at the world of presenting, I am going to mention Donald Trump. But sometimes when you look at kind of people out there, Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook, Steve Jobs, Apple, they're often the personification of that brand. It's their personality that comes through. It's the way that they chat to an audience rather than thinking, I'm going to watch a Steve Jobs presentation because it's going to be really professional. We're kind of really excited actually about what will Steve Jobs kind of do? What is he going to do creatively to bring his content to life? So very much for us, it's a personality game. And there's one person I think who's great at all of this is Sir Richard Branson. But before I talk about my old mate, Sir Richard, the extension of kind of personality, I would say, is that very much this is an exercise in personal branding. In that, for all of us, we're all multifaceted. There's many different personality traits, a different way perhaps in which we communicate. But it's now moving forwards, making a conscious decision actually about how do you want to come across. What's your personal brand? What's your tone of voice? What's your way of writing a script? What's your way of doing a presentation? And I think there's one person for me that is really good at this, or perhaps a good working example of this kind of model, is Sir Richard Branson. And I would say when it comes to kind of working out personal brands and kind of how you want to come across, I would advise you to kind of think about your brand as three-dimensional. You want there to be a range to you, a depth to you. And again, often I think we all focus on the one-dimensional. It's just a bit professional. It's just a bit slick. But actually, you want there to be a depth, a range to you. So, with that in mind, personal branding, all about who you are, what makes you interesting, relatable. What do we think Richard Branson's brand is? What are his three things that make him interesting, exciting, relatable, unique? Anyone? Any other fans of Sir Richard in the room? What was that? Illuming? Ballooning. Nice word. Ballooning. What do you mean by ballooning?
I don't know if you remember, but Richard Branson actually took a balloon around the world.
Got you. Got you. Got you. So the maverick Richard Branson, the man that balloons, jumps out of aeroplanes, does things a little bit differently. Definitely big, big thing, and I think that's something that he plays on when it comes to presentations. What else? What else are his points of difference? His charisma. Charisma, definitely. Very charismatic, a very likeable guy. What else?
He's dyslexic, and he talks about it quite openly. He wears his heart on his sleeve in terms of his dyslexia. Dyslexia,
so again, yeah, he's bringing those personal traits, his own personal struggles to the fore, which makes him relatable. Yeah, for me, I've got here entrepreneur. At the end of the day, that's the professional bits. That's the kind of bit that we all kind of buy into, the professional expertise. Family man, he's just a normal guy with a family, normal struggles, dyslexia. But at the same time, I am a balloonist. I am a bit of a maverick. I'm going to do things differently, jump out of planes, and that kind of thing. So that basically then becomes a really exciting visual and personality-based brand. But it's really important, I think, when you're working out the brands for yourself, your personal brand, that it works with the brand of your business. That's the wider context. So when we work with businesses, we very much look at you, your business, your tone of voice, your customer, and make sure that your personal brand fits with the brand of the business. And often I think you are the personification of that brand. You're kind of the face of that brand. So it all needs to fit together. And I've got here, have I got this here? I have. For me, Sir Richard Branson is that person that does like to do things differently. So this was back in 2003. This was the press launch for an aeroplane where he turned up in full drag. That's a Richard Branson way of doing a presentation, which I think is really, really clever and very standout. And again, if you look at like a Steve Jobs presentation, it's cool, it's slick, it's effortless because it all works with the brand of Apple. So we talked about personality, personal branding, making sure it works with the brand of your business, but at the same time, you've got to make sure as well that all of this fits with your audience, with your customer. Who is this for? So they're the kind of the context tips that I've got. Personality, personal branding, brand of business, but then also making sure that it works with your audience. And then, when it comes to the presentation itself, a few little tips. So number one, I would always think about every presentation as basically a show, a blank piece of paper where you want to bring some content to life. So things like structure, things like pace, things like visuals, making sure the visuals are on brand to you, the slides on brand to you, a creative opportunity to do something exciting, rather than I think sometimes we go into presentation mode and simply deliver information. So that's tip number 6. The next thing, which I think sounded brilliantly at the beginning, is I would never present. I would just chat to an audience. And it can be quite a hard thing to do sometimes when you're up on a stage and you can't really kind of see people. But it's all about breaking down that wall between the stage and an audience, connecting with an audience, getting eye contact, having a bit of a dialogue with yourselves. So, yeah, a different kind of way of thinking about your content. And also, I think no audience necessarily likes being spoken at. We all like having a conversation with. So finding those moments where you can draw people in and have a conversation with people, I think is really important. And then moving on to the next few little tips, bringing your content to life. I would say that basically is your job. That's what you've kind of got to challenge yourself. It's kind of, right, I've got to do this presentation, but how do I want to bring this content to life? How can I make this sexy, exciting, surprising, different? So that's kind of the mindset, I would say, to get into for any presentation. And then, my last 2 tips. Managing nerves. We all kind of get nervous, and often I think when you get on a stage, it's the first time you've done something, it's the first time you've actually chatted to people. So it is a face of kind of new, it's a room basically of new faces, which can, I think, sometimes be intimidating. So little tips that I kind of often do, or we help clients with, I would always script it. And kind of once you've scripted it, you kind of are in control, you know exactly what you're going to do. In televisions, we'll talk about in a minute. We always do a running order before every show, which is kind of like your show broken down into timed segments. So you've got that high-level overview of what is it you're going to do. And we always make sure the intros, the top, is really short, really tight to get the audience in. And as talent, as presenters, it's really good to learn your intro. It helps you get off to a good start. Also at the beginning, the little tips and tricks, you can kind of do like a little no-brainer question. A question where you ask an audience a question, as I sort of did at the beginning, a moment where you ask an audience a question, as I did at the beginning, which was how many people in this room have done a presentation. It kind of just starts that dialogue. It breaks down that wall between you two. And sometimes, Sam's breathing techniques were great. I quite like just to do a simple little power pose, that embodiment of kind of confidence, the Sasha Fierce, the Beyonce kind of thing, of just kind of tricking your mind just to feel a bit more confident, a bit more positive. And then the last tip, rattling through these, is just simply having the confidence to be yourself. And I think often, perhaps as British people, we can be a little bit apologetic. But I think sometimes if we do look over perhaps to the land of America, they're confident, they're proud, they're not ashamed to share a passion and a love for what they do, and to simply be themselves. So those, guys, are my top 10 tips. A few little contacts there for us. If you want to kind of get in touch, please do. But we're moving on now to the final section of today, which I'm hugely excited about. I'm going to be joined on stage by three amazing people to give me a little bit of company up here. I think always a problem shared is definitely a problem halved. So first of all, we've got a lady who has been awarded an OBE for the amazing mentoring work that she does with women. It is the fabulous Fay Sharpe. Have a little seat there, Faye. Nice to see you. And next up is a lady that you've probably seen on a stage here already. She's been floating around the event for the whole time. She's the boss lady. She's the lady in charge. It's Cvent's own marketing director, Felicia Asiedu. And finally, he's the man that made me feel a little bit nervous today. I must kind of admit, actually, I was a bit like, gosh, Dermot's kind of watching this. It's slightly thrown me, but in a nice way, because he is very much known as TV's nicest man in presenting. He is arguably, I think, the UK's best and most popular male presenter right now. He's kind of riding the crest of the wave, Dermot. It is Mr. Dermot O'Leary. So thank you guys for giving us a little bit of company up here.
Gareth, can I just say before we get started, I've come with the, what did you call it? Like a builder's...
Yeah, he keeps giving me this when I do interviews. It's literally like I'm a land surveyor walking.
Yeah, that was it. He's like, I look like a land surveyor. I've come with the land surveyor's iPad, so if you've got any questions, they will be delivered right here. So get your phones out and ask.
Right, so when we were kind of setting up this session, I might come forward a little bit, Felicia thought it was kind of really nice just to get some guys up in a sense of just sharing thoughts, sharing tips and tricks about what we kind of all think when it comes to the world of presentations, which I think is a great idea. So guys, my opening question to you all is this nature or nurture?
Woo!
Are good presenters born,
Dermot?
Are they born or, you know, is it developed over time? What do we think?
I think you have to have, if you've got an extrovert kind of instinct to you, I did something when I was like 11 years old. I said something in class and it made people laugh, and I smelt blood. And I just remember it. I just went, "That's what this is." I don't know. I want that feeling again, and I don't know what or where or how I'm going to get it. But I wanted to be an actor when I was a kid, but I didn't have the disposition. I didn't have the discipline for it, which is why I love live, because every take is your only take, you know. And so I think you can be born with an aptitude for it, but I honestly think that you put success in my industry down to three things, and they have to be equal thirds: luck, talent, hard work. And I think you can. I've got mates of mine who, and it kind of applies to acting as well. I've got mates of mine who are presenters who just haven't had the rub of the green. I've got friends who are lazy, who are brilliant, but just don't really want to work as much. And I've got friends who are, who have worked really hard but have just missed out on big jobs because their face doesn't feel, or they're just not right for the job. Doesn't mean they're not talented, but so I think those stars have to align in equal measure.
Nice.
I think it's 50-50.
Yeah, and for me also, being warm, being friendly, being nice to work with, I think is a big part.
Those things are that's a given for me.
Yeah.
I think as long as you start going down, you're absolutely right, of course, but I think you start going down that road, we've only got 30 minutes left, so I could literally tell you my whole life story. But
Give us a chance, Dermot.
but Absolutely, but I think you once again. I think you either have that in you or you don't. I think if you're trying to be nice, and everyone's allowed a bad day, if you're trying to be nice, then you need to have a word with yourself. Do you know what I mean? So the job is all about curiosity and empathy in equal measure. If you have to have those two things, everything else you can learn. But you have to be curious and you have to be empathetic.
Yeah, yeah. Ladies, nature or nurture?
Well, I was a trier, basically. Was anyone in the school nativity play? Yeah? Come on, we all got those really hideous parts right. So I tried every year to get the lead role of Mary or Joseph or any other part. And I was always picked to be the sheep. Or the worst part I ever got was a wagon wheel. In Calamity Jane, I had to stand there with a wheel for about an hour. So, and after a few years, I was thinking, is there anything wrong with me? Because I was really keen to get up there. And, you know, even when I was in the school band, I ended up falling off the stage. So, but then I got my first job. I worked for Hilton Hotels, and it was part of my job to speak, and I'd been sort of repressed before that. So I thought, great, I can talk a lot now. So I personally think that it is nurture. I think there is a bit of natural in there, but I think you do need to nurture that skill. And I would say you have to push yourself out of your comfort zone. Because for years and years, I actually used to feel physically sick before I presented, before I went in to see customers. And I just had a light bulb moment and suddenly got comfortable with it, which I can tell you about in a minute because I don't want to take too much time. But yeah, that was a light bulb moment, and that changed everything for me, how I actually, you know, was on stage.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is nurture because, funny, when you get to a certain point, you think it's natural. You're like, oh, I've always been an extrovert. I've always been this. I've always been that. But funnily enough, when challenged with this particular, you know, I haven't been speaking for a very long time. I've probably been speaking on stage for about 5 years, which is why I put myself in the middle of two very professional people. I was like, well, he's the guy. He doesn't like to be called.
Oh, you did like the seating plan, did you?
I didn't. No, actually didn't. But so, you know, you're like, yes, Dermot's the speaker. Fay, come on, like she's been doing this for a very long time. And I'm like, I've only been doing this for about 5 years properly, right? But everyone says, oh, you're very good. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's natural. Actually, I thought about it. My brother used to come and get me, who some of you saw last night, sings a lot. He used to come and get me in school from my classroom to go and dance with him or something, because he's come up with something he wants to do, and he's got, I'm going to go get my sister. And so suddenly, I was like roped into a whole bunch of stuff that I didn't sign up for, but I'd be like, okay, fine, because my brother's there, it's comfortable. And then when he started singing in like local shows, he'd be like, oh, you can come and do my back-ins. And I think I forgot. I think I forgot that I'd always been like this little shadow of a person behind him. So when it was school playtime, I'd be like, oh, I think I could do that. I think I could. But I was shaking with fear. Like actually inside of me, I was like, So my voice would always waver. And then I'd be like, well, I'm not the singer. He's the singer. I'm not the person. He's the person. So I think over time, I've learnt that maybe I am the person. Yeah. Maybe I'm the person too. It could be okay.
I think it's nice for the guys to know, though, because sometimes it's a journey you go on. You're not automatically great to start with. You have to work on it. And I was the same. I used to have shaky hand syndrome and all the rest of it. And then suddenly, you know, that moment clicks. So
I'm still nervous, though, by the way, but I don't shake with it, which is great.
Yeah. And take us back then to kind of like 17-year-old you. Because I think often, for me, when it comes to kind of presenting and working with brands and coaching, I think sometimes there can be an assumption that it's like the loudest, most sort of seemingly confident person in a room, in a class at school, that we all naturally assume is the best communicator. But I kind of often find sometimes it might not be that way. What do you guys think? Is it the loud person in the room that's often the best?
No.
I never got picked. I was that person when you had the school, you know, for the sports, the team, you know, and they were picking. I was the last person. There's actually a picture here of me. I don't know if you've got the picture. I'm 12 in this picture. I've got it here too.
You've got it behind you.
Yeah. So this is me here, and I'm only 12 there. And basically, bit of Dutch courage. I think I had to do something, an event or something that my mum had taken me to. And the wine continues on, basically. But
where were you? It looks like Is it a Mexican
this looks
restaurant?
Like child abuse.
Basically, yes, it is.
What's in the vessel?
A Hollywood film at the same time. I'm so confused.
Okay, so the message here. So basically, this is in Bristol at the Harvey's Wine Museum, where my uncle worked as a sherry taster or something, and I used to say yes to everything because, I didn't get that many opportunities. So if anyone ever said, can you do this or whatever? So I was only 12, and I think those people were quite shocked next to me because he said, is she allowed to taste wine? And before he
It's
said
wine.
yes. Yeah,
Okay.
I said yes.
I thought it might be tequila,
Yeah.
like a vessel of tequila or something.
Are you all
So
right?
the reason why, it is child abuse. Yeah.
It's traumatising.
The reason I'm showing it is because it takes someone to say yes to things, and I think that I had that in me, even though I was quite shy. I said yes to everything.
I
Well,
agree.
not everything, but
Well, a lot of
mostly.
things. No, so I agree on two fronts. So again, take me back to school. I set up a girl group. Who didn't set up a girl group at school, right? So,
What were they called?
we were the Fallen Angels.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Yeah. Are they going to be on your radio show, Dermot?
Did you not? You must have auditioned for the X Factor with the name like Fallen Angel.
we're going to be on it.
Fallen Angels, and I feel like we were one of every colour because you had to do that.
Yes.
And so we were asked during school times, hey, there's a memorial for this person. Would you sing? We're like, yeah, right. There's a thing at Christmas. Would you sing? Yeah, the Fallen Angels will be there. Like we're a girl group.
Everyone's Googling Falling Angels now.
We did make a CD at one point. Anyway.
Oh, here we go.
CD.
Let's get it to number 1, guys. Come on.
So we did that a lot. But then, fast forward, I don't think I did anything that big for a while. I literally was doing the shadow of my brother thing. And then I spoke about this on a podcast, our Cvent podcast recently. I had a whole year of yes.
Yeah.
I had a whole year of saying yes to every single thing. Some of them weren't the right things to say yes to. One of my old business partners sat there. We said yes to a lot of stuff that we probably shouldn't have, but everyone started saying, you're everywhere. You're on every stage, you're doing everything, And I think it got that personal brand out there. So it was just me saying yes to stuff, even if I sometimes was probably misplaced. Now I don't do that anymore, by the way. I'm not saying yes.
She holds back, a bit like Adele.
Yeah, definitely.
Only on special occasions
Yeah,
does she come out.
Sure.
An album every 10 years.
But for the people that you all talk out loud, right? And are they asking you to do that? Like, are your bosses asking you to do that? Or is there like, could there be several people in the organisation that can do it? Or are you basically the one that just go, you get out there and do that because I don't want to do it? Imagine the combination of all of that, right? Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Loudest one at school, Dermot, or kind
I
of
don't
quietest?
know.
Or?
Definitely not quietest, but also not necessarily the loudest or the showiest, but definitely, I'm definitely the most easily distracted. If there's two people in the corner, I want to know what they're doing. What are you doing over there? So the curiosity was definitely there.
But
I was the loudest in the room, yes.
Yeah, I'm like, come on.
But also the most likeable as well.
But I was going to say, there's someone on my team right now, if I point at her, she will crumble because she'll be very upset. But she has done a session here. She would be a self-proclaimed introvert. She talks a little bit quietly, and I said to her recently, speak up a little bit, But her knowledge is on fire. And when she's got used to now standing on stage and talking about it, people have posted on LinkedIn already about her saying, that session was amazing. And she's quite quiet, but she's just got it. So I don't think you have to be the loudest person in the room. You have to have something about you and be willing to share it and be honest,
Yeah, and I think the other thing is one of the mistakes I used to make is I used to have cards and loads of slides, and I used to go into meetings and stuff, and it would be a disaster because I'd be like, what am I talking about? Or other people prepare presentations that you then have to do. Huge mistake. The key thing is to talk about what you know, and just forget all the slides and all the hundreds of whatever. If you want to do something, use a picture that just and then talk about it, because the more natural you are, the more you're yourself, the better you'll come over. Yeah. And that was one of the things I learned. I sort of had a light bulb moment, like, I need to stop thinking of a convoluted message and actually just be myself and actually just deliver my story. Or whatever the subject was I needed to talk about, just turn that into, like, what's happened to me that is interesting around that thing. And then people will buy into it because it's part of your story, right?
So, right. I'd say two things. Picking up what you said, at the very start, when you said producers wrote presenters, I've insisted from when I first started that I co-wrote everything I did. So anything that's not ad-libbed, I'll have either written or taken a pass on. Because as soon as you go up and you're doing someone else's words, you're like, oh, what does that mean?
Yeah.
So I'd say two things. Firstly, just simplify it. And secondly, write it yourself. Yeah. And if you want to give it to a colleague to do a pass, then do a pass, and that's fine. But it's got, if they're your words, then it'll be authentic. And if you, I'm not saying do not learn, whatever you do, don't learn the word for word, but just get the gist of them. And then that way you learn them so well, and you've, I don't want you to be too practiced, because that's the last thing you want to be. You don't want to be too polished. But you want to be able to go out there and just what I call playing in a sandpit. So, example with it would be X Factor, right? It's the biggest show I've ever done, biggest show I'll ever do. I did it for 12 or so years. On Wednesday, I go in, I co-write the script. On Thursday or Friday, I go in and I'd look at the schedule and rehearsal time, and I'd go, okay, it's because I didn't have much rehearsal time, because quite rightly, they needed to prioritise the acts. They've never been on TV before, blah, 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 right? But I know I've still got 2.5 hours of live telly or whatever it is to do. And so I'd work out where I was going to stand, how I was going to get my director out of his lunch break. I'd go around with him. I'd make sure that I coincided my autocue guy with his lunch break as well. So when everyone else is taking lunch, I'd be on stage. I'd look at the schedule and I'd say to the production manager who's putting the whole thing together, give me from 4 to 5 as well. If there's no one at the tea break, I'll take that. So, my point being, from the time you get to actual rehearsal day, or when you have time, you're already 5 steps ahead. And it's not about beating anyone else; it's just about knowing your thing, right? So by the time you get on stage, like, I'd have a prompt, but I'd pretty much know where I was going. Firstly, because I'd written it, so the muscle memory takes over. All these great ways of kidding your brain. Yeah. And secondly, then you've just practiced and rehearsed. So it's not. I mean, it's live TV and it's a big entertainment show, so you have to be polished. But then it gave me great. I know where I'm going. One of my first ever bosses was Andy Peters, right? I don't know if anyone remembers Andy from...
Yeah, I love Andy.
Right, from being in the room cupboard. But Andy could be Director General of the BBC if he wanted to now. So Andy took over Channel 4, and there was a researcher on a show called Light Lunch. I also did the warm-up. Andy came down, saw me, gave me my first big break. He gave me a couple of auditions in a couple of shows. And I ended up doing T4 for him. And Andy always used to say to us on T4 was, Sunday morning TV.
Fantastic.
It was like, I was like early doors, 24, I think, when I started. I was there for a couple of years, and we didn't have autocue, and so it was kind of very much on the hoof. And Andy said, when you write your links, always think, and we wrote our own links, and Andy was like, always think about it as a sandwich. You've got your bread. What you do in the middle, have fun with. But remember, you've got that last bit of bread, so you never get confused. You always get that last bit, so I know where my out is, which means I can have fun here. And I took that with me. So when I was doing the X Factor, I could go, okay, I can have fun here. I know I can take the piss out of Louis or have fun with Simon or tease blah, blah, blah. And I can do all those things because I know where I'm going at the end of it. Yeah? And so you make it as... You own it as much as you possibly can, I guess.
Yeah, making it your own. First times, guys. Let's get a bit intimate. Ooh. First moment. First time you did it. How did it go?
What are we talking about here?
Exactly.
I'm not quite sure I'm ready to share that yet.
What was it? How did it go? And what might you do differently?
Was yours before T4?
Yeah, I think, but I'm still thinking, so someone else.
That's a really hard question, because I've been doing bits, for business, obviously mine's a different thing, but I did have a horrible experience once at an ITM conference, which there was front projection and everything was, all I could see was the light in my face, and I was still doing that thing with loads of slides and stuff, and that was my moment. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Yeah, I think now I've got a bit of a routine where I speak what I'm going to say first to my, like in the car, I'll talk to myself. But and then I can't remember. I mean, I'm old. I'm a 60, so I've been doing this a long time. So am I allowed to be a bit?
You're what?
60.
Okay.
Yeah. I know I look about 40, but
I did not know that.
Yeah, I'm hot still. It's good. Yeah.
Any first time memories? Anything you might do differently looking back when you first started out?
I'm going to take mine back to singing, because speaking, I think...
Here go the fallen angels.
I'm not singing.
You want to get on X Factor? Yeah, come on.
I'm just going to check where we are in the Spotify charts.
No. But do you know what? Because when you talk about first times, I'm thinking about... I remember being in a place called the Tabernacle. It's really close to Notting Hill Carnival, because that's where I grew up, and there's this building called the Tabernacle, and all the youngsters from the area would go there, and it'd be like, okay, who's singing at the Tabernacle? It's a very local sort of talent show, I guess. And I decided I was going to sing this really slow R&B song. It's going to be amazing.
What was it?
Oh, no.
Go on.
It's horrible.
You have to sing it.
No, there's just no way. So that's not happening.
But who was it by?
No one would know them. It was called Get Out, and it's by a group called Changing Faces, and it's like this, you're all sassy, get out, I've had it with you, that kind of thing, and you're like 15, so you've been in love before, and I just don't think I prepared myself. I think I just thought, well, I sing, I like singing, there's a talent show, I can do it, and I just got there, and it was terrible. Like, it's probably the worst thing I've ever done. And, when, Sam said, who sings and the cats come to the window, I think I was in that phase. And that killed my confidence a bit. It made me think, like, I can't sing. I can't be in front of people, I'm no good. And it was my fault, but I didn't know that at 15. I didn't prepare.
Yeah, true.
I give you two instances. One wasn't my fault. It was my first T4. And on my first this is my first ever live television. We had the cast of Queer as Folk on, the first iteration of the Queer as Folk. Now, to put into context, the first ever Queer as Folk showed basically anal sex for the first time on television.
Oh, that's nice.
The night before. I'm doing a show at 9 in the morning, and we have the 3 stars, amazing actors, all 3 of them, great to have them in. But the lawyers are like on us, and they're just going, you can't reference anal sex, and I'm just there going, oh man, this is not my first time I've ever been on television. The second interview I do was from Beth Orton, who's this incredible indie artist. Beth Orton gets so worried about live television, she worried herself blind for a week. So my 2 interviews are, the lawyers all over me for these guys, and Beth Orton's my second. I'm there going, oh man, I picked the wrong industry. But I think, if I'm honest with you, that the live stuff is the hardest. I did the BIFTAs, I think, or the Empire. I did the Empire Film Awards as well. And the biggest mistake you can make is to overwrite and think it's all about you. Yeah. Both of these things I did. And so I overwrote, and then you realise halfway through your opening monologue, you're looking at the audience and you're thinking, no one gives a shit.
Keep it short.
Absolutely. No one cares what this 25, 26-year-old on stage. And I'm looking out in the audience and see legendary actors, and I'm thinking, who do you think you are, you moron? Why would these people care? And so you're absolutely right. You keep it short. Yeah. What I would say, though, is about your presentations, because they're so specific, like I said, my stylist has started doing presentations, and he's an expert in men's fashion, right? He's so good, Tom. And he gets a bit nervous. And I said to him, the one bit of advice I give you is, you've got this expertise. So I said to him, whoever's in the, and some audiences are just like, nah. And some you get straight away. And so I said, but you can't do anything about it. Someone's just like that. Yep. So I said, what you need to do is like, if you're doing a presentation, you know your stuff so well that you're just going there anyway. And if they're coming with you, that's great. But just let them know, this is my area of expertise and this is what I'm talking about. And sure enough, they will go with you if you're that confident, and you're that confident because you're prepared.
Nice. Go on. Yeah.
I'm going to really annoy you.
Have you remembered another one of your singles?
Absolutely not.
No.
I've gone back into, like, this is my event and I'm running it and we've got time to keep mode, just whilst I'm on a panel.
Yeah, you go for it.
So I'm going to
live produce.
The thing is, but I've got a ton of questions from the audience, and what I sometimes do in my sessions, if it's okay, is I throw my cards away and I abandon them, because so many questions have come from people that want to know things about us. So can I give you this?
Yeah, or take a question. You go for it. You've got your bit of tech there.
She booked me so she can do it.
The most upvoted question so far.
Yeah.
With 7 votes. Okay. It says, what should organisers do when they have internal presenters who are dull on stage, but necessary to appear?
Okay.
Necessary to appear.
Okay.
Faye's ready.
Yeah, I'm ready for this one. Remember, I spent 35 years in the event industry managing people's expectations of presentations and what have you with a lot of big agencies. So I think the thing is that you need to coach your speakers, right? It's no good just allowing people to go up and let them loose, because whatever you're doing, you need a cohesive message. So if you're doing a day's conference and it's all the same company but different heads of whatever, you need to make sure that that's on point, on brand, and that the speakers are talking about things that are relevant to the audience. So what is the message you're trying to get over? So I have pissed a lot of people off, I'll be honest with you, but the results speak for themselves. So if you're producing content, it's no good just letting people do whatever they want. You have to manage that. And if you can't do that yourself, you use a professional company to help the speakers craft a message and a genre. And you can make even the most boring speakers interesting, believe me. And also cut their session down if you have to, if they have to go on stage. But yeah.
I've got one for that. So anyone on my marketing team knows I'll often say, who can we partner that person with? Who can we pair that person with? Because I know the personalities that I'd listen to all day. And then there are the people that have the knowledge. And so sometimes I'll do the double act thing where I'll say, okay, they'll paint, this person with storytelling expertise will paint the picture, set the scene, give us that warmness, all those things we've talked about. Then this person will give us okay, so you said that, what do you do with it? This is what you do with it. Go through the facts. And it's like, but let's bring us back out again, into the roses. So I like those partnerships. They often work to help break up the
or interview.
The dullness.
That's the other thing.
Interviewing
people.
Right.
Sometimes people are not natural. Sometimes because they're nervous. If you interview them, you can actually manage the questions and keep maybe them going on too long about the things that are not going to be of interest to the audience.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good idea as well. I think like when I do corporate things, like for example with Reggie, I was about to say a few days ago, but
It was yesterday.
it was just yesterday. The interview went really well because like they sent me loads of questions and they said he likes his questions to be quite exact, and I was like, yeah, we do better. But really, I know I'm going to get more out of him, the stuff that's like off the page, and the stuff that you react to. So when you do that, when you are presenting for a living, try not to, if you're doing an interview, structure questions to a point. And don't get me wrong, sometimes you can fall foul of this, because if people aren't answering, just giving you one-word answers, you run out of those talking points pretty fucking quickly. But 9 times out of 10, that's not going to happen. So you can just, I always look at an interview like a tree branch. So, you've got your central tenet, where you want to start, where you want to end. But then don't worry about going off into the tributaries and the little branches and the little twigs. And if someone says something interesting and it interests you, or there's commonality there, pick up on that as well. I think that's really super important. Also, the one thing I'd say to you guys is try not to do what your CEO tells you to do. Because invariably, you might know in terms of I know it's easy for me to say, I'm not going to get the sack. But try and surprise and delight, because it's always easier to ask for an apology that is for permission. Because you ask for permission, people are going to say no. And if you ask for an apology and you've done something that's a little bit interesting and a little bit out there, then it's always, and CEOs are always going to be, they're always so dry. They're always going to say no to everything because they're almost always risk averse, because that's why they're where they are, because they're really super successful. But the best people I've worked with in both the commercial way and the TV way, in terms of big producers, are people that aren't afraid to take risks. And they love it when you take a risk.
Can I just pick up on something you said, that when someone says something, you pick up on it? So one of the things that people do a lot when they interview or they're on stage, they're so busy thinking about what they're going to say next that they're not listening to what the person said, and therefore they miss what could be a brilliant, route to go down. So I would say have the questions there if you want as a backup, but forget the questions and focus on who you're talking to, because that will give you a really great outcome.
Yeah, and for me, I'm going to answer it as well. So I think it's a really interesting question, isn't it? And I think often I would always look at the people in the room, in the office, and just think, right, what are people's strengths and weaknesses? And then he's kind of then divvying up the work according to that, according to personality. So the kind of the dull person might be the person that just loves facts and figures, and you just give that them to do, because that's going to really turn them on, and you make that a really short bit to help them out. And then you package it in and around perhaps an interview or a VT. And again, I think if we think of these presentations, moments where we've got to communicate as a bit more of a creative opportunity, as a show, as we would kind of do in our background in television, all of a sudden, actually, what could be a problem for me becomes a really creative, exciting moment to do something differently rather than just a simple copy and paste. But guys, I want to go into slides, because I think I was bobbing around all the different rooms when I arrived at kind of 3 o'clock today, and I think often, for me, presentations are so dominant when it comes to use of slides. Yet again, in kind of my background in television, we very rarely would ever put up a graphic, and if we are going to do it, it's a little asterisk at the bottom with a very snappy title. But often I think we're often driven by slides when it comes to presentations. So what are our thoughts on slides? What's our advice on slides? What should we all be doing?
Put pictures on there. Like, well, anyway, let me not say that. That's my style and something I have to get used to. There's a question on here that I'm going to answer whilst doing that at the same time about leadership, promoting your team's hard work and like getting your introvert people to be able to do this as well. I have to learn to stop kind of saying, well, when I do it like this, da-da-da-da-da. I feel like I need to, as a leader, tap into bringing out how do you like to present? What is your sweet spot of presentation? And for some people, yes, you shouldn't have many words on the slides, but some people are very fact-driven, as you said. I put pictures on which give me everything I need to get the story, to get you to the facts, to get you to the point, and then I might give you a stat. Some people need the stats. They need those things. They need those bullets and whatnot. You just have to work out the style that works for you, but know your audience isn't going to love all the bullets. You just have to know that. So if you can break up, if you're that kind of person and you need the information, if you can break it up and put more white space, like Google, think about Google, it's just got a box and a white space. People love that. That's why it works. Do you remember, what was that other thing, Yahoo or Jeeves or God knows what it was? Text, 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 text. It was just crazy. Whereas Google comes with white space and a bar and you're in. And that's what people like to see visually. So I would say you've got to find your style. I'm a picture-driven person. If I put one picture on screen, I put What Women Wants on a session earlier, just Mel Gibson with a woman doing yoga, and I can get every part of my message across that I need to. I don't need the words on the screen. But you've got to figure it out for yourself, I think.
Yeah. Some people use, they actually write what they're going to say on their slides, which is a big mistake because basically they're not looking at you. They're looking at what is written on the slide. So, but it is a comfort blanket for some people. So I would say, like I said at the beginning, talk about what you know. And if you do have any facts and figures, keep it absolutely minimal. I also, so my lovely ladies on Fast Forward 15, my mentees over there, we're doing lots of panels. It's part of what I do, trying to get them, woo, 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 woo. So I asked them to bring a prop. So they bring something along with them that just, personifies who they are or where they're going or what their goal is. And that prop is enough to actually anchor them to talk about the point that they're going to talk about. So I think there are cleverer ways than putting loads of slides behind you than, just have a prop or something and talk about that thing, and that will also engage your audience because they're like, oh, why have they got a teddy bear with them or a stupid picture of them drinking wine when they were 11 or whatever. So I think it's using that and, trying to bring your message to life in a creative way if you can.
Yeah. Teddy bears, Dermot?
I beg your pardon?
Teddy bears? Visual props?
I'm not versed in the slide world, so I'll have to just take a step back on that.
Yeah, it's interesting for me in a sense of, again, in my background, very visual, and again, you're all working in a visual medium, and often for me, a slide will really pull the focus, and it's often just thinking, what am I asking my audience to do? Am I asking them to listen or read something? So I would just always say, less is always more. Keep it very, very minimal. Top 3 tips, guys. I know we're running out of time here, which is great, and I think hopefully there's lots of things that people can take away and action when it comes to presentations at work. But top 3 tips for presenting at work. Should we start at the end, ladies first?
So I would say start with something you're a little bit comfortable with, not too comfortable. So for example, like a panel where it's not just you, you're in a group of people, so you've got that to fall back on. It's a good way to build confidence. Practice makes perfect. So the more you do something, the more comfortable you are. And be yourself, definitely, but talk about what you know. Think about the audience that you're talking to and then relate that story to something that is personal to you because that means the message is real. You're a real person and you've got to relay that to your audience.
I mean, that's pretty much it. Because my biggest one is about being so honest, but almost not too honest that you get fired. Like there's kind of a fine balance right up there where...
Hey, good luck with that, everyone.
Anyone that falls off the edge, I'm sorry.
My friend.
But it's like, that's how, when I did first start doing this, it was from a place of real honesty. Quite frankly, I tell people this, but George Floyd thing had just happened and everyone was like, oh, we need a black speaker, hey, you. You know, it just felt like that. And, you know, it's like, can you speak about diversity, inclusion, and blah, blah, blah? And I was like, okay, I guess so. I'm a black woman. I have some lived experience. But, you know, over time, this is what I meant by the Year of Yes thing. Over time, I was like, that's not my expertise. That's her expertise. You know, it's not mine. Why am I being asked to do this? I speak on being a marketer. I speak on maybe some singing. I speak on things that I actually care about. You know, these things about your lived experience, I don't want to share that with you all the time. Maybe sometimes, but that's not my thing. So I think, you know, I came from a place of authenticity that allowed me to speak in those moments. But I'm being very authentic to myself, knowing what I want to speak on and sticking to that. And that's why I think I'm okay at it now, because this is what I want to be doing. It's passion. It's real.
You're more than okay. You're fantastic.
Oh, thanks. Great.
Yeah.
I'd really reiterate what you just said. I think, you know, you do your best to try and it's hard because not everything you're going to be hosting and presenting is like, this is my real passion, it comes from my heart. But you can definitely tell your story within it, I think. And like I said, it's easier to ask. And also just right for you. I think in telly we make a huge mistake sometimes. Like, you love your audience, you respect your audience, you're there for your audience. But all the best TV shows I've ever made, you make for you, trusting your audience to go there with you, rather than, if I'd make this joke, that person will be offended, or if I say that, then I've left that person out, or would that person get it? The worst thing you can ever hear in any TV meeting is, would Brenda, and we say it all the time, would Brenda and Wigan get it? And it's the thing that drives me up the wall. As soon as I hear it, I want to walk out, because it's the most patronising thing you can ever say to your audience. Because A, she can Google it. B, she might know it already. And C, Brenda and Wigan is very different to Irene next door. Brenda and Wigan can speak a bit of French. Irene can speak a bit of Italian. Brenda cooks an amazing chicken cacciatore and she does a carbonara. My point is, no two people, your audience isn't the same. It's not some amorphous mass. So don't treat them like that. Just so, therefore, speak from your heart and speak from your gut. They go with your gut. That's the most important thing. This, in that order. And I've run out of things to say.
That's absolutely fine. And I've just been told we can do some more audience questions if we'd like to.
Who by? Who's told you that? It's you.
It's I see. Yeah,
no one has said. Has anyone witnessed anything here?
We've just asked, guys, do you want a few more questions?
Would you like to do more?
Hands up if you want some more answers. Yeah?
Look, we've got some
That's
more.
the classic,
Look,
isn't it?
few more. Yeah, do you want some real life in the
Yeah, let's have some
IRL
live questions. Come on.
Who wants to speak?
Yes, come on.
We've just
come
spoken
on.
about being a great
FF15.
Get your hand
Come
up.
on,
Look,
FF15.
someone over there in the
Yeah.
corner at the back.
Yeah.
You've got to be like Annika Rice. Run. There we go.
Come on, Team FF15. We need questions from you guys as well.
I will describe myself as an introverted person. So doing this is very scary, and you might hear my voice shaking. But I decided to be brave because of what I've heard today. I have to start somewhere. And I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm literally shaking, but this is a first step for me. I work in an organization where I have to give presentations at health seminars. So I'm hoping with the experience I've gotten from everyone today, that stepping up at the next one in March will be made easier. I'll think of what Dermot said, which is the tree and the leaves and branches, and focus there. Felicia's visuals, the stats throw me off. I know them, I have them, but when you put them on the screen, it confuses me. Visuals are better for me to tell a story. And I can't say anymore. I'm scared now.
Just keep going with the whole Frenchless kind of the kind of breathless French vibe, and you're there.
Yeah. Right.
Everyone was like this. Say next. Adorable. Love it.
You know what's so cool? So I walked into the Fast Forward 15 session today, very briefly, and I can't remember your name. Ivanira. She came dressed authentically as she was and started telling us this story about her name, and it means things, and she just weaved this wonderful thread. And she was meant to be doing this thing where it's like you do this elevator pitch and then people give you feedback of like, you could have done this, you could have done that. But I said to her, just because you told me the story of your name, we were talking about names earlier, you told me the story of your name, it got me involved. I was suddenly like, oh, okay, what does your name mean? Okay. Oh, so you have a business that's about the diaspora of Africa. Oh, I was so fascinated because you reeled me in with just telling me something about yourself.
She has 7 names, actually.
So do I, which is why you probably got me.
But I think so much of me is down to warmth and likability and relatability and authenticity. And that just felt so authentic, didn't it? So instantly we're all just drawn in, which is what communication is all about. We'll always remember that moment that you stood up today.
And the lady at the back,
which is great,
has to apply for Fast Forward 15.
Yeah.
We'll help you.
Yeah.
We will help you with this because that's what we do. These ladies at the front will all tell you how we build confidence and we get you on stage and you're going to be, superwoman. We're going to help you.
Love that.
Is there time for another question?
Yes. Shall I go to the iPad or real IRL?
So I do actually quite a lot of public speaking, but I had this one experience once. I was at an event show on a stage like this, giving all the facts, doing all this, when suddenly I got cotton mouth, couldn't think what I was saying, ran off the stage and ran home. So fortunately, that was quite a while ago, and I've done a lot of speaking since. But what tips do you have for anyone that's like new into speaking or does speaking quite a lot and that happens to them?
Go on.
Oh.
Maybe not as extreme as running, off the stage as me, but...
I just have this vision of you now just running, literally running, shutting the door. Make sure you open gin. That's the first thing I'd say. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It happens every now and again. It still happens to me 20 years down the line. Every now and again you get a little tongue-tied. Every now and again you're like, what was I going to say next? I do This Morning every Friday in the holidays. Me and Alison do it, and it always helps when you work with someone you know now really well, someone you trust. It's hugely important. But there are times when every now and again, your mind goes blank, and it is what it is. And it is I think I mentioned it, I said it earlier on today, but I saw this, or maybe yesterday, I saw this thing, Roger Federer, I don't know if you were in the thing I was talking about, there's that old notion of he only won 54% of the points that he played. And everyone was like, in this university, he was addressing this university, and he said, I won 80% of my games, only 54% of the points. And the kids are like, what, 54? You're Roger Federer. And it's like, yeah, only over half the points I ever played I won. My point being, you don't dwell on those. I'm a great believer in regret, by the way. I can't bear it when people go, I've no regrets, because for me it's like, I find that quite hubristic and a little bit kind of too proud. And you don't learn from, if you just say I am who I am, and of course all of that in many ways is true. You make those mistakes to get to where you are, I get all of that. But I don't think there's anything wrong going back and going, okay, I do regret that. How would I have done that differently? How did I treat that person badly? How can I make recompense for that? And so as long as you learn from those things, they're going to happen. And it's just about going home, opening the gin, treating yourself, have a nice bath. Yeah. We're not curing cancer. You'll come back tomorrow and you'll do the same thing again. It is what it is.
Yeah. Can I add to that? I think I would say we've all made mistakes. I've had horrific experiences where I've come away and thought, oh my God, that was awful. You've got to do it. You've got to get back on the horse straight away. Literally, don't leave it. Try and find an opportunity to find something else. But learn. Don't just do the same thing, because you probably didn't have a good opener, or you didn't have a good initial opening piece that maybe threw you. And I don't know if you guys find this, but I try and get a hook in right in early, and that is either the question or, I get people to stand up and do the math, whatever it is, a little icebreaker just to get people with you and not just being talked at. They're actually with you on the stage, and that actually helps you as a speaker. And once I've got that done, I'm like, oh God, I'm good now. it's golden. I'm going to be fine. So.
You're right. You need to get them early.
Yeah.
I mean, there's even an argument that you reference it on your next time. When you're with those people. There's I don't know whether it worked yesterday, whether it didn't work yesterday when I came out and did my opening bit. But I thought I can't walk in here and pretend that I know what I'm talking about, because no one would buy that. and I don't even buy it. Still don't quite understand what I'm doing here. So I'm 2 days in, and I'm like, you guys surely must have met all everyone yesterday. I've been to all the stands and go, yeah, I like this one I'm a bit confused about. I still don't understand why. But my point is, I went out, and so you just, there's an honesty to it. And so I'd take that, I'd own it, because it's going to happen. But it does, but the fact that, it's like anything. Like you get in a car and you drive, every now and again you're going to have, you're going to cut someone up accidentally, or, you're going to have we're all allowed, there's a great line from The West Wing, and Rob Lowe is this great character in The West Wing, and the nicest guy in The West Wing, and he just turns, and he has a dog of an episode, and he turns around to someone at the end and he goes, I'm a nice guy having a bad day. We're all allowed it. It's okay.
Awesome. We have reached the end of our time. But there was one question that got 16 upvotes, so I feel like I should answer it very quickly. I read it wrong earlier. It says, what's your recommendation for an introvert leader that needs to be presenting in order to promote their team's hard work to help the team move forwards? Very two quick things. Number one, get your team to make their own slide for the thing they want you to say about them, because that way they will give you the most pertinent points about them, hopefully, and then you're not like, okay, what do I say about this person? Secondly, if possible, just bring them into the room. Bring them to the table. It's so good when you can get someone on your team in with the CEO or the head of something, because that way they can speak up. They'll probably do the better job of speaking about themselves than you could. So I think those would be my two quick tips to end us in this wonderful session.
Thank you, Gareth.
Thank you very much. I think it's your bit now.
It is, but what I want to do, before anyone leaves, my friend here in the pink, I need you to come up.
Hey.
We're not finishing this
And
day
we need
on
a
downer.
microphone.
And I need 2 other people to come up to the stage now, because I've been doing a lot of talking for the last couple of days, and I've got a lovely link there that I've written, and I can't be asked to do it, if I'm honest with you. So my friend, what's your name?
Matilda.
Matilda, get up here.
Matilda.
Tell her everyone.
Come on.
Brilliant. Thank you, my friend. I need a beefcake. Yes, one over there. Thank you so much. I don't think I'm going to run out of script. Any guys in the room? It's always like, you bloody cowards, honestly. There we go.
Chris.
Oh, Chris is coming.
Right.
There we go. You've
got four.
All right, Matilda, you come here.
Come on.
Wonderful stuff. All right, Matilda, we're going to do a bit of auto cue. You are going to do the first para.
Don't worry,
And
don't
then
worry.
just hand over to my friend there, okay?
So you just...
You're reading that?
Yeah, first paragraph.
Into the mic, it's going to be great. Matilda, everyone!
But really excited.
Let's
Go on.
Okay, that is all the serious business. It's almost time to get frivolous.
Yes!
Oh, but first time, thanks again to all the sponsors, Encore, American Express, Shout Out Social, and Apple Sound.
Yes.
Here we go. Chris.
Yes, Chris.
And thanks also to all the staff here at the Hilton and Cvent Connect team. I think they've all looked after us very, very well.
Yes, Chris! What's your name?
Anna Marie.
Anna Marie, everyone!
Thanks, of course, to all of you for your contributions and input. Please make sure you all take the post-event survey so that lovely people at Cvent can make next year's conference even better.
You're amazing, because
You've got to come
that's
to the
easily
middle.
the shittest bit of the whole link, so well done.
Come.
What's your name?
Otherwise,
Hannah!
if you stand there, you're not on camera. You've got to stand in the middle. There you go.
The Innovation Pavilion upstairs in Kensington has been transformed into the party capital of, well, this hotel. Complete with crush cocktails and edible balloons.
Yeah! Oh, no, we're done. Back to you.
You'll also be entertained by the Function Band, who are clearly under no illusions about their market.
Did you write this? Incredible. Chris,
So go, enjoy, and we look forward to seeing you again next year, October 15, 16, the Intercontinental O2.
take it home.
Come.
We'll leave you with some of the highlights of what has been a fantastic conference.
Have a great night!